Blackpool Boxing here. I wanted to do this video for some time, but it took a while because I've been trying to put the pieces together. But basically, I want to make this video of trying to make sense with a lot of the Canelo hating. So I wanted to title this Canelo Hating 101. And I'm going to do it by numbering it. I'm going to see how many I come with. I'm just doing off the, shooting from the hip here. I didn't write them down or anything, but I think I want to start with number one being his appearance. And I want to start it by saying, if anybody's read or heard Canelo's childhood, he talks about how he was bullied as a child because he looked different. I don't think that should. I think if you listen to that, you gotta see it in a larger perspective. Children and kids, they're not born to hate or to make fun of other people. That's something that's taught. So there is a certain I don't know if I want to call it racism, but there is if you look differently in everybody around you, in Mexico, I know you have all different colors of skins and hair and all that, but Canelo stands out, first and foremost. So I think that's always been in the back of his mind, that he was sort of bullied and he fought back and was constantly getting in fights when he was young. So that's number one, his appearance. And I do feel like some of that has trickled into his professional career, because let's be honest, people tend to root for those that look like them, and he's sort of in the position where most of his countrymen, they don't look like him. He looks different, so that he's got that against him. That's number one. Number two, Canelo came into rise, or started to bring his career, when there was other Mexican stars. You had Julio Cesar Chavez Jr., who was predicted to be the next star and to be the face of Mexico and be this huge star. You had Juan Manuel Marquez. He was still pretty popular too when he was coming up, and Barrera was on his way of retiring and things like that. So he had that working against them, and you still had a lot of Julio Cesar fans that were loyal to him and weren't willing to part ways, and for that reason alone, they weren't willing to give credit to Canelo. That's number two. He came to rise around the junior era, and that worked against him. Number three, his confidence. And what I mean by that, like in American sports, when you see someone that's confident and all that, we tend to, as Americans and culturally here in America, we see that as a positive, like that you must be confident and you have to have this killer instinct and have this confidence. We see that as a good thing. It's not something that's frowned upon. However, in other countries, in a lot of countries, not just Mexico, that's not seen the same way. In fact, it's more of a turnoff than anything. It's seen as like he thinks he's all that, and who does he think he is? They always side on the side of humility and all that, instead of someone that's confident and cocky and all that, which is, for example, why a lot of people have never liked Mayweather, because he's always been a very confident, very cocky fighter. So that's number three. There is his confidence. That's always worked against him. Number four, I'd have to probably say his style. And I know I've heard Canelo say that there is no such thing as a Mexican style and all that. I've heard him say that. He's right. But there isn't a lot of Mexican boxers that are fighting like him. They don't have that style. In fact, I'll go out and say it. I mean, there's even some black fighters that have said this. So this isn't just something that comes from me, but a lot of people feel he fights like a black fighter, and that he has that style. He doesn't have the come forward type of style that a lot of Mexican fighters are known for. Not that that's the only way they box, but Mexican fighters have always known to be aggressive and, you know, fight till you die type of mentality. And he's not that. And he's also confident, you know. So you combine all these things, and I hear like a lot of people that, oh, he's had it easy, and, you know, he's a golden boy and he's protected. But you got to see that from the perspective of he's kind of had an uphill battle in the sense that he's had to prove himself to a lot of people. And even now, they still dislike him. They just can't get around the fact that, you know, that he's confident, that, you know, that he made it and not really Julio Cesar Chavez. You know, that he doesn't have that style that they like. His confidence, you know, all these things combined has you know, gotten people to not like him. I almost want to say he's like the Mayweather for Mexicans and in Mexico, where you don't like him and you buy the fight just to see him lose. There's a lot of similarities. And likewise, I bump into so many videos where, and again, I don't want to make this a racial thing, but I find it interesting that a lot of black fighters, a lot of black commentators and YouTubers and all that, if you guys don't believe me, go look for it for yourself. They tend to like Canelo, the butt white Mexican. They like him instead of, you know, it's fascinating how that you can have that. And I do not want to make this about race, but, you know, it's sad that people can't just see boxing for what it is and just choose you know, the quality of a boxer above, you know, what you're seeing and what that person looks like. I guess some people can't get past that. You know, at least try to be consistent. If you tend to go for the aggressive fighter, you know, because you'll have some people that were mad at Mayweather, for example, because he's always been a defensive fighter. They're mad at him for fighting the way he fought, but then they give Canelo credit for the way he fought. I mean, you can't have it both ways. You would either give Mayweather the credit for being the defensive genius that he is, and also give Canelo the credit as well. You can't give credit to one and not the other. I mean, and you also have to see that aggression, although it's not the sum of all things. You don't say that's the only thing. You do have to give some credit when someone tries to dictate the fight. It has to be effective when you dictate it, which is why with this fight with Triple G, I don't think he was as effective as he normally is, which is why, if you think about it, you listen to a lot of these YouTube videos, what are you constantly hearing? I mean, you usually hear, oh, Triple G dominated, he did this, he did that. On this fight with Canelo, the only thing that they're saying is, oh, he out-jabbed him, he out-punched him. I mean, what does that tell you when the only thing they have to say is that he out-jabbed him and that he took control of the fight, or he had the pace of the fight because he was being aggressive? I mean, that's the first fight where I see that the only thing left for them to say is that he out-jabbed him. What does that tell you? I mean, that tells me that there wasn't really much else they can say. Oh yeah, he outpointed, he hit him more. Okay, what else did he do? Did he throw more bodies to the punch? Did he have more power punches? What did he do? So it's very interesting to me how now, even with this fight, how the Canelo hating has developed. Carpool boxing here.